Okay, so morning guys. So this morning, of course, I'm just messing around on YouTube and I'm watching stuff like this. You know, I'm getting more and more anxious. I know there's things I need to talk about, and after I do that, then I know I can work on other things and be relaxed about it. So that's how I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Excuse me. So anyway, this is pretty good. You know, we all love Star Wars. Yeah, you know, it's pretty good, but it's just, you know, sometimes you're just wasting your time and you gotta know when you're doing that. So anyway, I wonder if I could play this real low while I talk. We'll turn it down kind of low. So, I wanted to talk about another one of the dreams on my list, my dream list. You'll have to go way back in my videos to actually see my dream list. I think I will go back and put a dream on the ones that where I tell one. So it's not a big list, and I had these dreams a long time ago, like 20 years. So I hear some of you talk about lucid dreaming, vivid dreaming, and different kinds of dreams that you're having right now. So you know, I don't know, but I just feel like maybe maybe the dreams that I had 20 years ago can be helpful. So I just feel like I should do that. So anyway, I had a dream. Okay, let me about this being called here the Green Man. Right. So I did not know at the time the name of this being. The dream starts out, and here's all these images. You know, man, I searched this 10 years ago and I could not come up with hardly anything as far as images. So I was looking for one that looks like the closest to what I saw. So the dream starts out, I'm sitting across a table from there. That's the one. Alright? That's what I saw. That's the one. That's what I saw. Alright? So, without flashing lights, that's dumb. Anyway, he had his hands that way, too. I'm sitting across the table from this being. And the impression that I got was, like the uttermost charismatic person that you have ever met, right? Like you want, you know, I felt like an incredible, like you know, feeling of being impressed. You know, just it's hard to describe. It's hard to describe the charisma. So the dream is really short. So he just straightforward. He told me that I could have power over the weather if I wanted it. And I said, well, you know, what would I need to do that? and I'm kind of thinking, of course, wow, but also in the dream, and it's lucid dream, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't know. You couldn't be suspicious. The charisma was such that you couldn't feel suspicious. So I wasn't suspicious of this being or entity. I didn't even believe that he was lying to me. I felt like he was totally telling me the truth that I could have this power. So, and it's just a dream, folks, right? So, what I was thinking then was, well, what would God want me to do? Because at the time I was sobering up from, meth, or what at the time we used to call crank, many years ago, 20 years ago. And so I was sober, and I was doing Bible study because that actually started while I was on the drugs, and really helped me get off drugs. So I asked him, what would I need to do that? And he proceeded to describe to me, oh my God, like the most horrible rituals on children. Now remember, this is 20 years ago, and I had never in my life heard such awful things, And as soon as he paused, maybe he would have gone on. I don't know. I said, I think I would rather just do what God wants me to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And he rolled his eyes and scoffed at me and just disappeared. Right? So that's the dream. So I told this dream to my ex-husband, who I was married to at the time, and had, just pretty much only been with him for, a couple years, maybe a year, a couple years. And he told me that he thought it was probably the green man, didn't know for sure, because I said, bark face. I don't remember this long nose, a normal nose. So these images, where is it now? These ones, there. A lot of these is made to look friendly, happy, these are all pretty modern images. There are some older ones, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and some of the things that I looked up. I've been reading this morning. Of course, I looked this stuff up years ago, and there wasn't nearly as much stuff to look at. This time it was much easier to look up. So, yeah, I do kind of remember, some of these have, things coming from the corners of the mouth, and, others of these have, reptile eyes, and that's not, they were, human. Hazel. And I do kind of remember, something coming from the corners of the mouth, although it wasn't really an obvious thing. So anyway, these entities, I believe, and I could be totally wrong, do exist, and if you want to call them demons, that's fine. Obviously involved in some horrible stuff. So, but I want you to look at some of the lies here, and interestingly enough, this one's called Spirit of the Forest, but up here, and that's what I clicked on, the Green Man archetype. So I've been talking about archetypes. So let's see here. They talk about, basically to summarize up here, they talk about the green man, like nice nature spirit, influences nature, get along with you worship the green man and the nature will be wonderful, is what the old, Jack in the Green and the Making, they're saying that's the predecessor. I don't know. I will tell you, it's like I've been looking at these ancient gods and things for a long time and reading about them back on Sagittarius, because I'm coming across so much unfamiliar stuff in the first place. And in the second place, everything that I read about or watched back on Sagittarius, like you could not really say this god was that god, and you couldn't like make some kind of amalgamation chart and say, well, there's this definite pantheon and it's these people. You can't do that. I think it's better to think of like I do think of the ancient aliens thing, but I think there were probably I would say like maybe tens of thousands of these different types of beings all over the planet, maybe more, like a lot. And that's where we get these legends, and they could be individual like stories of different people, but we're talking about archetype. So you're going to have, just like humans, you're going to have some similar people that do similar things in their lives, and you don't go and say, well, they're the same people, right? So that's part of the lie of the one world religion, right? And they're just going to, I think they're going to put forth like this pantheon that's like 12 or whatever their magic number is, and they're going to try to say, well, all of these ancient things can funnel into only these 12 people, and get you to worship them. So I just described to you what the worship would involve, not in detail, I'm not even going to say, what I was told, and I can't remember a lot of the details because as I was dreaming this, like, I did not want to hear this stuff, right? So I'm kind of like in my mind like appealing to God. At that time I had not turned to Jesus, but so I wasn't really a proper Christian. But I was into the Bible, and I was going more through the Old Testament at the time. But I had read all of the Gospels, and I knew them, so you could call something like that a test, but it wasn't really. That's really not much of a choice. Like, I don't need control over the weather, and I'll talk here in a little bit about what I think all of this relates to. So, yeah, look at that. Now I wanted to say too, like this, even though the rituals that he described were like sacrifice and sexual acts against children and all like sexual stuff, like this being was not attracted to me, nor me to him. And it's like it's even crazy, the idea, because completely different species, right, guys? So even this is a deception. Like, I think it's a deception because that's just what I felt, like this completely different species feeling. Like dolphins don't want to do it with whales. You know what I'm saying? It's not natural. It's just all a deception. It's a thing that they do to control us because they know we can be controlled that way. Right, guys? So just be careful out there. Anyway, this is a very good article. Very good. So we'll just look at a couple of things. Now this article talks about the archetype really only started to be used in 1939. The name Green Man. But then they have all of this, like the Roman Green Man, and they try to like kind of loosely tie it together. Now, as I'll say again, like I was told by another person that the being that I saw sounded like the Green Man, and that's when I look it up and I find that image, that is what I saw. But this talks about Dionysus and mystery religion worship, which is Cabal stuff. Same stuff, right, that they were doing in like tunnels underground in Rome and in Greece. So then here, you know, early Christian period, there have these things in churches. Then they're talking about a parallel influence in Western Europe was the Celtic cult of the head. So I forgot all about this. The particular reverence the Celts had for portrayals of the human head, based on the belief that the head is the repository of the soul. Right? So I don't know what this is. Okay. So, and this is another sidebar, like, I had forgotten all about this, and I don't know if that went on here. It probably sounds like it, but there was a cult of early Christians. Supposedly the Templars did this. That's supposedly why they were persecuted, and that they were keeping heads of dead Christian figures and doing like ceremonies and consulting the head, like spirit consulting, and like supposedly it would talk to them somehow. So anyway, there's a lot of description here on archetype, you know. And then it says, is perhaps an indication of the Green Man's power as an archetype that he was able to transfer so seamlessly from one culture and one set of beliefs to another. So that's because they set him up because he was a nature spirit or something, so-called or whatever. You know, they're trying to push through these articles that, not this one so much, this is more historical. These more mainstream ones, that he controls nature. Well, I'm telling you guys, and just from the dream that I had, you know, we are the ones that are connected to nature. And so this article talks a little bit about it. It's kind of veiled language. Anyway, so then they talk about, you know, deviant sexual practices and blah, blah, blah. So, now where else was I looking? Okay, so you know, associating with the cult of Dionysus and with Dionysus, but you know, like I said, I think there were just probably a lot of different beings, and you know, now there's layers and layers of first lies and deception about that, and that's probably one of the lies. You know, that's just my opinion. So Anyway, I just want to read this little bit to you. Because of these depictions, the green man is believed to have been intended as a symbol of growth and rebirth, the eternal seasonal cycle of the coming of spring in the life of man. This association stems from the pre-Christian notion that man was born from nature, as evidenced by various mythological accounts of the way in which the world began, and the idea that man is directly tied to the fate of nature. So, the idea that man is directly tied to the fate of nature. So, my understanding of Christianity is that the world belongs to us. Nature is not controlled or influenced by these demons. So, when this demon offered me power over the weather, it's only because man has that power. So his intention was to corrupt me and control my power, right? So I don't try to control the weather, and I would never do things to children, of course. So possibly if you're going to be evil, maybe that's going to enhance your power or whatever. But, with me, my power is the limited sum of, like if I step right out on the porch. This is on Sagittarius, guys. This has been going on for, a long time, but most of my life, probably since after I went through puberty, I would say. Say it's a slightly cloudy day and I step out on the porch. The minute I step outside, that little sprinkle of rain will start. And I can kind of feel it like inside me. Like I just started a little sprinkle of rain. But I don't try to control that kind of thing. I think my belief is that if you as a human being are in a good, positive place, then that has a good positive effect, your field, on the environment around you. And that's how we're connected to nature. We're not supposed to try to control it or do horrible things to kids to enhance it. So that's how that works. Don't get sucked into any new agey bull crap like this. This being, I don't even, you can say evil and you can say demon, but it's a different entity. It's a entirely different species from you, and it doesn't care about you one way or the other. It just wants power over our planet. Alright? It just wants to control our planet. And we can either serve it or die or whatever. It doesn't care about having sex with us. Now there are other entities that feed off of those energies. And I know probably a lot of you have know who David Icke is, and he does a pretty good job of explaining all of that. And I don't know who does or who doesn't know about David Icke, but you should check it out. But don't really get too far into David Icke, because I think he's just another one of these guys that's giving you a little bit of truth at the beginning and then just gonna suck you in. Don't follow any one person or any one man. You want to go around and you want to gather information everywhere, right? Wherever your synchronicities lead you. So here's the last thing, and I think, there's two things. We'll come back to that. We're going to look really briefly here at my YouTube, my recommendations list, because this is crap, and I don't know who most of these YouTubers are, and this has been going on for days. I know you, Brian, Wendy Mitchell. I think I've watched one. I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. I who's that? Buddy Huggins? You know, I just had to bitch. That's getting on my nerves there. I'm not gonna watch any of this stuff. Look at Alex. Ridiculous. What? Nerds at YouTube. Anyway, then the last thing when I'm searching, excuse me. Okay, so it's like this show I never heard of, and it comes up real prominent on my Google search, and so that's my birthday. And it's almost like, I don't know, some of these synchronicities are almost like they're there to scare ya. So don't let it. I'm not going to spend the next 2 hours worrying about being a victim of a midsummer birthday murder because I exposed the green man demon, right? So if you don't really know me, I'll just say it again. Like, this was just a dream that I had, and this is the subsequent research that I did, and this is what I came up with, and this is my opinion that I formed afterward. So, take it or leave it. That's, fine with me. If you want to do this like New Age stuff and worship this being, go right ahead. I think some of you already know, what's going on there, right? And I wonder a little bit about some of these rituals, like being used to do the weather thing, and like, I even wonder if I had accepted this offer, like, would I now be working for HARP or something like that? That's kind of, I think, how these things work. Anyway, I guess that's about all that I had to say today. I did have another synchronicity about giants with another person, and so I will have to do that probably tomorrow. This one got to be too long this morning. So I guess the one dream, and I'll label it dream, and I'll go back and label the other ones. So anyway, I love you guys. God bless you. I think I'm going to start saying God bless you at the beginning of my video, so that I've blessed all my enemies right to start. Right, guys? Anyway, I love ya. Have a great day.
I just took a ride on a silver machine, and I'm still feeling mean. Well, do you want to ride and see yourself going by the other side of the sky?